Imagine a world where towering hominins, as strong as Olympic powerlifters, stalked the grassy plains of southern England. The air was thick with the scent of fresh-killed horse, butchered with precision tools. In the distance, a pack of scavengers, hyenas perhaps, waited for their turn to feast. But these were no ordinary hunters. These were the ancestors of Neanderthals and possibly also modern humans, and among them stood Boxgrove Man, the earliest known inhabitant of Britain. But who was this powerful figure? How did he live and how did he die? Could his race, often dismissed as a mere stepping stone in human evolution, actually represent an early form of modern man? Due to the ambiguities of human species classification, we will refer to this human population or race as Boxgrove Man. In biological terminology, this population is referred to as a clade. Discovered at the Boxgrove site in Sussex, England, Boxgrove Man is represented by a single tibia, also known as a shin bone, and associated tools and animal remains dating to about 500,000 years ago. These are the oldest human remains ever found in England. Think about that. 500,000 years. This was a time when England was not an island, but connected to Europe, allowing early humans to migrate freely. What do we know about his physical build? The robustness of his tibia suggests a man of at least 6 feet, 1.8 meters in height, and a body mass of around 16 stone, around 230 pounds, roughly speaking, making him one of the most powerfully built hominins ever discovered. In case you aren't aware, a stone is a unit of weight commonly used in the UK, and it is equal to 14 pounds. His bones were thicker than those of modern man, indicating immense strength. Was this necessary to take down large prey like horses, bison and woolly rhinos? Could his sheer physicality suggest that Boxgrove Man was an apex predator? Indeed, this early human ancestor must have been one hard-boiled savage survivalist. Finely crafted hand axes, obsidian knives and fire use suggest significant intelligence. With an average cranial capacity of 1,200 to 1,300 cubic centimeters, the brains of Boxgrove Man's race were nearly as large as ours, equivalent to around 2.5 pints of Carlsberg beer. In other measurements, the brain cavity held approximately 16,876 grains of water, and estimated in dried millet seed, the brain cavity equaled 37 ounces in British apothecaries' weight. Bilsingsleben is another significant archaeological site in Europe, also dated to the late Heidelbergian period, where a partial cranium was discovered. Archaeologists uncovered a circular arrangement of stones and wooden structures, suggesting the presence of temporary shelters or huts. These structures imply that these humans were capable of organizing a base camp, rather than simply following a nomadic scavenging lifestyle. The Vertisolos fossil site in Hungary is another one of the most important Heidelbergian archaeological sites in Europe. Tools found at the site belong to the Acheulean and early Levallois traditions, and bones with mysterious engraving marks. Archaeologists discovered a fragment of an adult human skull, along with parts of a calvarium similar to the more famous Swanscombe skullcap from the UK. One German anthropologist wrote that it may fairly be supposed that a skull of this type represents the faint vestiges of a primitive type, and which must have given the human visage an unusually savage aspect. This aspect might be termed brutal, inasmuch as the prominent supraorbital border is also characteristic of the facial conformation of the large apes, which leads to the conclusion of their belonging to a barbarous and savage race of man. Ponder on that for a moment. Another fascinating clue to Boxgrove Man's identity comes from Germany. The Mauer mandible, a lower jawbone found near the village of Heidelberg in 1907 and dated to 500,000 years ago. Referring to this jaw, one anthropologist wrote that while the skull is the creation of God, the jaw is the work of the devil. In reality, this species should have stayed dead instead of being resurrected, said another anthropologist. In biology, a clade includes a common ancestor and all of its descendants, meaning it encompasses the entire evolutionary lineage stemming from that ancestor. Other representatives of this clade include the Arago skulls from France, Bodo skull from East Africa, and turnipine fossils from Algeria. Would Boxgrove Man and the Bodo Man be the same kind of human? The Maurer jaw's robust structure and lack of a chin mirror the traits seen in the Boxgrove tibia. This suggests that these populations, one in Germany, the other in England, were part of the same species. Were these European barbarians already diverging from their African counterparts? The movement of early humans across Europe was dictated by the rhythm of glacial and interglacial cycles. During warm interglacials, humans expanded into new territories, including Britain. But when glaciers advanced, populations were forced to retreat south to warmer refugia. The Heidelbergian period is a term used to describe a phase in European prehistory, roughly spanning 600,000 to 400,000 years ago in Europe. The Heidelbergian period represents a crucial step in hominin evolution, bridging the gap between earlier forms like Homo erectus and later groups like Neanderthals and modern humans. This period is often referred to as the muddle in the middle, an apt description given the great debate over which hominin species should be recognized and the attribution of fossils to those species. During the Anglian interglacial, also referred to as the second interglacial, 550,000 to 480,000 years ago, Britain was warm enough for habitation, allowing early humans to thrive. However, the Anglian glaciation, 480,000 to 420,000 years ago, brought extreme cold, forcing human populations to retreat to warmer areas of Europe. England, only habitable during warm periods when sea levels were low enough to expose land bridges, was periodically abandoned and recolonized. Could this cycle of expansion and isolation have driven the divergence between European and African populations? Over tens of thousands of years, as some groups remained in Ice Age Europe and others stayed in Africa, distinct evolutionary paths may have formed. Was this the beginning of the Neanderthal-Sapiens split? During the middle of the Anglian glaciation, around 450,000 years ago, the Danube River experienced massive flooding events that reshaped the landscape of Central Europe. As ice sheets expanded across northern Europe, they blocked the natural flow of rivers, causing the formation of vast, proglacial lakes in regions such as Austria, Hungary, and Romania. These lakes, fed by meltwater from retreating glaciers, reached critical points where ice dams could no longer contain the rising water. When these barriers failed, sudden and catastrophic outburst floods swept through the Danube basin, carving deep valleys, depositing thick layers of sediment, and altering the river's course. This event coincided with the English Channel megaflood, which similarly resulted from glacial lake overflow, permanently severing Britain from mainland Europe. The Danube megafloods likely contributed to increased water discharge into the North Sea, intensifying the scale of flooding across the region and reshaping European waterways for thousands of years. These megafloods had a profound impact on early human populations who inhabited Central and Western Europe at the time. Archaeological evidence from sites like Boxgrove in Britain suggests that early humans occupied the region before these catastrophic events, but after the Anglian glaciation, their presence appears to decline, likely due to displacement caused by environmental changes. The dramatic alteration of river systems, including the Danube's shift in course, would have forced populations to migrate southward toward more stable climates. The extensive sand deposits left behind by these floods provided fertile soil that would later support early Neanderthal populations. But in the immediate aftermath, the changing landscape presented significant survival challenges. The Danube megafloods, along with the English Channel flood, were part of a larger pattern of Pleistocene climatic upheaval that shaped the migration and evolution of hominins in Europe. To survive in cold conditions, Boxgrove man had to innovate. Evidence suggests they utilized animal furs, including beaver pelts, to stay warm. Could they have fashioned primitive clothing from these materials? If so, this would demonstrate an understanding of insulation, a key survival adaptation. Indeed, Boxgrove man was a woodworking, fire-using, spear-hafting barbarian. The discovery of sharpened wooden spears and butchered animal bones at other sites suggests that these early humans were more advanced than previously thought. Fire not only provided warmth but also protection and cooking, increasing their ability to extract nutrients from food. Taking down large prey implies social coordination and advanced communication. But was Boxgrove man a modern human? Modern humans are often defined by three key characteristics: complex tools, large brains, and symbolic behavior. But doesn't Boxgrove man exhibit all of these traits? If Neanderthals are considered almost human, should we extend this distinction further? Should we see Boxgrove man not as a primitive being, but as an early form of modern humanity? Since Neanderthals passed down their genes to modern Europeans, and Neanderthals are the descendants of Boxgrove man, then can we say that Boxgrove man is indeed our ancestor? Let that question sink in for a moment. How did Boxgrove man die? The evidence is grim. His tibia bear the unmistakable signs of animal predation, chew marks from carnivores that scavenged his body. But was he killed by these beasts, or did they arrive after he had already perished? The thought of being dismembered by a pack of wild hyenas is a nightmarish thought. Some researchers suggest that Boxgrove man may have been hunted by large predators, like giant hyenas or saber-toothed cats. Others believe he might have died from an injury or infection, his remains left exposed to scavengers. One thing is certain: life in Pleistocene Europe was harsh, and even the strongest of hunters could fall prey to the wild. Boxgrove man's survival depended on his mastery of stone tools. At the site, archaeologists uncovered Acheulean hand axes, finely crafted tools that allowed these early humans to butcher prey with precision. The transition from the symmetrical Acheulean hand axe to the more intricate spearheads and knives also coincides with the advancement in language and the reorganization of the brain. This brain reorganization and language are the reason why 90% of humans are right-handed, and tools also became right-handed. But could they have had even more advanced weaponry? New discoveries from other sites during this time paint a picture of a human ancestor who was more sophisticated than previously believed. The useware analysis of Boxgrove man's tools yielded several interesting finds. Archaeologists believe that analysis of the base of his stone tools revealed that the hominid likely attached stone points to sticks, creating a sort of spear. It's an important step in human development, as it involves putting together two materials, the stone tip and stick, to form a composite tool. Scientists are still trying to determine the details. For instance, it is possible that Boxgrove man was making spears with short sticks. While not as useful for hunting, the short stick would act as an extension of the tool, and you can hold it while you are scraping or engraving. Researchers are also trying to determine whether Boxgrove man used some form of sticky organic material to aid in the process of hafting a spear. Research also found evidence through the useware analysis that Boxgrove man was working wood with their stone tools, possibly to turn it into wooden tools. Perhaps the strangest finding was evidence for drilling. Archaeologists don't know what they were drilling into or why, but they were certainly making holes with their stone tools. There is no evidence so far that Boxgrove man made ornaments, or what we would consider art. Finally, the analysis shows that Boxgrove man would have had an interest in clothes. A certain proportion of tools associated with this human population were being used for the working and scraping of hides. If they are depressing the hides, if they are softening hides, they can use the hides for their clothes, something no sophisticated Englishman would dare live without. Recent findings suggest that hafted obsidian knives, stone blades attached to wooden handles, may have been part of their toolkit. The ability to haft tools marks a significant cognitive leap. If Boxgrove man was using spears, hafted knives and fire, should we consider them primitive, or were they already approaching the capabilities of modern humans? And what of the hunt itself? Evidence suggests that these early humans could take down wild horses, a feat requiring coordination and planning. Imagine the raw power needed to pierce the hide of a galloping horse with a wooden spear. Did Boxgrove man hunt alone? Or was this a social event, a cooperative effort among his group? The discovery of Boxgrove man has reshaped our understanding of early human life in Europe. This was not a fragile, primitive creature, but a robust, powerful hunter who could take down horses, craft advanced tools, and survive in a harsh and dangerous landscape. His physical strength was unparalleled, and his intelligence, as seen in his tool use, was undeniable. As we uncover more about Boxgrove man, we must ask, were they truly different from us? Or were they simply another branch of humanity that could have survived into the present under different circumstances? The Boxgrove discovery challenges our perceptions of what it means to be human and forces us to reconsider our own deep past. What do you think? Could we see Boxgrove man as one of the first true Englishmen? Or was he something entirely different? The answer may lie in future discoveries, waiting beneath the soil, in the footprints of our ancient ancestors. Now, let us observe a moment of silence for the death of Boxgrove man. And with that, we leave you to ponder the mysteries of our shared human history. But before you go, please like, subscribe and comment. Thank you and take care.